Welcome to a city drowning in its own shadow, a place called Ethelberg. Here, gilded towers pierce the smog-filled sky, monuments to the greed of the few who feast while the many starve in the alleys below. Gold flows like water through the hands of the elite, while the streets are paved with desperation. Justice is a commodity, bought and sold by officials with hollow eyes and heavier purses. The air itself feels thick with unspoken suffering, a silent scream that echoes in the heart of every common citizen. Through these very streets, a solitary figure walks. His name is Elias. He is a prophet, but his eyes reflect not divine wisdom, but the profound, weary pain of the city he calls home. Each starving child, each broken family, each act of casual cruelty, he feels it all as if it were his own wound. The city's corruption is a cancer, and he can feel it eating away at the soul of his people. Haunted by the despair he witnessed, Elias flees the suffocating embrace of Ethelberg. He seeks solace in the stark, unforgiving wilderness that surrounds the city. The jagged rocks and whispering winds become his only companions. Here, under the vast, indifferent sky, he confronts his own demons. He prays, not with the assured voice of a prophet, but with the desperate plea of a man on the brink. His faith, once a blazing fire, has dwindled to a fragile ember, threatened by the winds of doubt. He questions his purpose, his God, and his own strength. How can one man's voice make a difference against an ocean of injustice? For days, he wrestles with this spiritual turmoil, his body growing weak, but his resolve slowly, painstakingly reforming. With a newfound clarity forged in the crucible of his doubt, he rises. He knows he cannot abandon his people. He must be their voice, even if it's the only one. Elias returns to Ethelberg, but he is a changed man. The hesitation in his eyes is gone, replaced by a burning intensity. He walks not to the grand temples or the halls of power, but to the heart of the city's suffering, the crowded, squalid marketplace. He climbs onto a discarded crate, and his voice, raw and powerful, cuts through the din of commerce and misery. He speaks of justice, not as a distant ideal, but as a birthright. He condemns the avarice of the rulers, their feasts built on the famine of others. He speaks of a higher law, one that cannot be bought or bribed. At first, people ignore him, another madman shouting at the sky. But his words carry a conviction that is impossible to ignore for long. Slowly, a crowd gathers. The hopeless, the downtrodden, the forgotten, they stop and listen. His voice becomes a lone cry for righteousness, a single candle lit against the overwhelming darkness of the city's opulent despair. The prophet's words spread like wildfire, reaching the marbled halls of the city's rulers. Amused and annoyed, the governor and his council summon Elias to the Grand Plaza. They stand on a high balcony, draped in silk and jewels, looking down on him with contempt. "Your words are wind, old man," the governor sneers, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Your God has forgotten this city." His council laughs, a cruel chorus echoing across the stone square where the people have gathered to watch. But as the governor utters his mockery, the sky, once clear, darkens with an unnatural speed. A sudden, violent tremor shakes the very foundations of the plaza. The opulent statues of the city's founders crack and crumble, their stone faces falling to the ground. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. All eyes, from the governor on his balcony to the beggar in the gutter, turn from Elias to the sky. It is a sign, an omen, a moment of terrifying, silent awe that captures every soul in Ethelberg. In the stunned silence that follows the tremor, Elias stands unshaken. The fear in the ruler's eyes gives him no pleasure, only a solemn sense of duty. He raises his hands, and his voice, now imbued with an undeniable authority, rings out across the plaza. He speaks not of destruction, but of renewal. He prophesies a day when the foundations of greed will crumble entirely, and from the rubble a new city will rise, built on compassion and equity. He tells the people that the power to reclaim their lives lies not in the hands of the men on the balcony, but within their own hearts, united in purpose. His final words are not a curse, but a promise of hope. A spark is lit in the eyes of the crowd, a glimmer of defiance, of rebellion. As Elias walks away, disappearing back into the streets, he feels a profound peace. His faith is no longer a question. It is a shield, and his purpose is as clear as the dawn he knows is coming. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing for more tales of courage and hope.